Who gave you that locket? The waitress freezes, her fingers instinctively reaching for the chain around her neck. I don't remember. All I know is when I was 5, someone left me at an orphanage. This locket was tucked inside my clothes. Her voice trembles, heavy with pain, but the man before her, his eyes glimmer with an unspoken secret. Silence envelops them. He slowly opens his wallet, pulling out a faded photograph, his hands trembling as if grasping the past itself. He says nothing, but that moment, between a waitress and a millionaire, is it merely a chance meeting, or the turning point of a buried truth, powerful enough to change everything? Welcome to 30 Millionaire Stories. If you believe a small object can unlock hidden mysteries and heal shattered hearts, hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and stay with us until the very end. Don't blink, because this story will make you believe in the power of fate. Atlanta's skyline glimmers through the rain-streaked windows of Étoile, a lavish restaurant where the elite gather to bask in refined opulence. The polished marble floor reflects the glow of crystal chandeliers suspended overhead, creating a shimmering, palace-like ambiance. The air hums with the gentle clink of cutlery on porcelain, blending with the soulful piano melody drifting from a corner, where an artist plays quietly. Among the servers moving like shadows, Abigail Foster, a 22-year-old waitress, glides between tables with the grace of someone seasoned by pressure. Her blonde hair is neatly tied back, her black uniform accentuating her slender frame. Her green eyes betray the fatigue of long shifts, but her smile never fades, a perfect mask concealing the burdens she carries. Abigail works double shifts at Étoile, not just to cover rent for her small suburban Atlanta apartment, but to fund tuition at community college, where she chases her dream of becoming a journalist. Each tip, however small, is a step toward that goal, though the path is fraught with obstacles. Around her neck, hidden beneath her uniform's collar, is a silver star-shaped locket, intricately engraved with delicate leaf patterns. It's the only relic from her hazy past, when she was left at a Savannah orphanage at age 5. Memories of that day are fragmented. A sunlit park, a man's warm laughter she called father, and a vague promise echoing in her mind. It will bring you back to me. Abigail doesn't know the locket's meaning, but she's never removed it, as if it's a thread tying her to a part of herself she hasn't yet found. That evening, as Abigail bustles with orders, a co-worker whispers that table 14 needs more wine. She nods, grabs a bottle of Merlot from the bar, and approaches, unaware that the guest there will alter her life. William Bennett, 55, a tech millionaire behind Bennett Innovations' data empire, sits alone at table 14. His simple gray suit, impeccably tailored, and silver-streaked hair lend him a dignified air. But his brown eyes carry a deep, unspoken sorrow. A single father. William has never overcome the loss of his daughter Charlotte, who vanished from a Savannah park 17 years ago, at just 5 years old. He's spent millions searching, hiring detectives, offering rewards, but all efforts failed, leaving him with an empty heart. Abigail reaches the table, her wine tray steady, a professional smile on her lips. "Good evening, sir," she says, her voice gentle but clear. "How may I assist you?" William looks up, his eyes meeting hers, then freezing as her uniform collar shifts, revealing a silver star-shaped locket. His breath catches, as if time has stopped. That locket, with its intricate leaf patterns, is identical to the one he and his wife gave Charlotte for her 3rd birthday, before everything fell apart. William strives to keep his voice steady, but his gaze clings to Abigail, as if piecing together scattered memories. "Another glass of water, please," he says, his tone low, but his eyes remain fixed on her, as if afraid a blink might make her disappear. Abigail nods, oblivious to the turmoil in the man before her. She turns away, resuming her tasks, serving other tables with her usual finesse. But William stays seated, his hands gripping the table's edge, his mind in chaos. The locket, her green eyes, her slender frame, they all stir thoughts of Charlotte. Could it be? After 17 years, that fate has brought his daughter back? Or is this just a cruel coincidence, another false hope in a string of disappointments? Étoile remains radiant, with its crystal glow and piano melodies, but at table 14, a quiet story begins, where a father and a young woman, once torn apart by time and circumstance, stand at the crossroads of destiny. William Bennett can't tear his eyes from Abigail Foster as she weaves between tables at Étoile, her tray of wine balanced with finesse, though her eyes betray fatigue. The silver star-shaped locket glints around her neck, catching the light whenever her uniform collar shifts, making his heart falter. He designed that locket for Charlotte, his daughter, as a 5th birthday gift, a star with intricate leaf patterns, a symbol of his hope and love for her. Trembling, William pulls a leather wallet from his suit jacket, his fingers brushing the soft surface until they find an old photo, its edges worn by time. In it, Charlotte, her golden hair radiant, beams, her small hand clutching a locket identical to Abigail's. His heart races, pounding as if it might break free. Is this a cruel coincidence? Or has fate, after 17 years of anguish, returned his most precious loss? Abigail, meanwhile, feels William's gaze from table 14, but has no time to dwell on it. She's preoccupied with George Larson, Étoile's manager, a harsh man with slicked-back hair and a voice sharp as a blade. Larson rules the staff like a tyrant, skimming tips and punishing minor mistakes with ruthlessness. As Abigail glides past, delivering a water tray to another table, Larson's voice cuts through, harsh and unforgiving. "Foster, that necklace," he growls, pointing to the silver locket peeking from her collar. "Take it off, or you're done." Abigail pauses, her hand instinctively touching the silver chain, her heart tightening as if squeezed. "It's from my father," she whispers, her voice soft but resolute, as if defending her most sacred treasure. Larson smirks, his eyes flashing contempt. "Your father? You're discarded. Foster, remove it or get out," he says, his tone icy, as if she's not worth his time. Abigail doesn't remove the locket. It's her anchor, the only link to a past she recalls in fragments, a sunlit park, a father's warm laughter, and a vague promise that the locket would bring her back to him. She's worn it for 17 years, from the Savannah orphanage to Étoile's grueling shifts, a reminder that somewhere, someone once loved her. Larson turns away, his glare promising consequences. But Abigail refuses to let fear shake her resolve. She continues serving, carrying wine and water, her professional smile intact, but inside, the dread of losing her job clings, like an unshakable shadow. As Abigail returns to table 14, carrying the glass of water William requested, he suddenly speaks, his voice low but charged with emotion. "Who gave you that locket?" he asks, his eyes locking onto hers as if the world hinges on her answer. Abigail stiffens, her hand touching the silver chain, feeling the leaf patterns under her fingertips. She draws a breath, striving to keep her voice steady, but the pain of her past surges. "I don't remember," she says, her voice trembling. "I was left at an orphanage when I was 5. It was tucked inside my clothes, with a note bearing my name." She lowers her head, her gaze skimming the marble floor, as if trying to hide the emotions welling up. William falls silent, but his eyes are profound, as if peering through time. Back to that fateful day in a Savannah park, when Charlotte vanished. The locket, Abigail's gentle voice, her green eyes, all evoke his daughter, though he dares not fully believe. He grips the photo in his jacket pocket, his fingers tightening until the paper rustles, but he doesn't pull it out. He fears facing the truth, or a false truth, might break his heart. Abigail, unaware of the turmoil within the man before her, sets the glass on the table, offers a polite smile, and turns away, resuming Etoile's frenetic rhythm. The restaurant remains radiant, with its crystal glow and soulful piano, but at table 14 a quiet story unfolds. William, with his old photo and memories of Charlotte, sits there, his heart torn between hope and dread. Abigail, with her star-shaped locket and fragmented past, continues working, oblivious that the man she just served might hold the key to her life's answers. In Etoile's opulent space, fate weaves an invisible thread, drawing two people, separated by time, closer to a truth poised to unravel. Trembling, William pulls a leather wallet from his suit jacket, his fingers gliding over the soft surface until they touch an old photo, its edges frayed from time and countless touches. The picture captures Charlotte, her golden hair gleaming, her green eyes vibrant, clutching the star-shaped locket on her 5th birthday. William draws a deep breath, struggling to contain a surge of emotion, then slides the photo across the glossy wooden table toward Abigail, who's just brought his glass of water. "Do you recognize this?" he asks, his voice low but quivering, his eyes locked on her, as if the world hinges on her response. Abigail takes the photo, her hand trembling slightly, her heart pounding in her chest. She leans down, her green eyes scanning the image, a little girl with blonde hair, eyes matching hers, smiling radiantly, holding a star-shaped locket, the same one around her neck. Her breath catches, as if the air in Etoile has grown too dense. "It's me," she whispers, her voice fading, tears streaming down her cheeks, leaving glistening trails under the crystal chandelier's light. William chokes, his eyes reddening, as if 17 years of anguish dissolve in this moment. "Charlotte? You're Charlotte?" "My daughter," he says, his voice breaking, carrying both the joy and pain of a father reclaiming his most precious treasure. Abigail shakes her head, bewildered, her eyes flickering between the photo and the man before her. "No, I'm Abigail," she says, her voice shaky, as if clinging to the identity she's carried for 17 years. "I'm not..." But before she can continue, William rises, closing the small distance between them, his arms opening wide and pulling her into a tight embrace, his body trembling with emotion. "You're my daughter," he repeats, his voice choked, an unshakable affirmation. Abigail grips the photo, her tears falling freely, sobbing in his arms. The locket presses against her chest, an invisible bridge spanning 17 years of separation, reconnecting her to a past she recalls only in fragments, a sunlit park, her father's laughter, and a vague promise. The dining room of Étoile falls silent, as if time has paused. Diners stop speaking, cutlery halts against plates, and servers freeze, their eyes drawn to table 14, where a father and daughter have just reunited. The piano's soulful melody from the corner fades, yielding to this sacred moment. But the silence shatters when George Larson, the restaurant manager, barges in, his voice seething and sharp. "What are you doing, Foster?" he snarls, his eyes flashing contempt. "Putting on a show for the guests? Get back to work!" He steps forward, as if to yank Abigail from William's embrace. William turns, his eyes blazing with a fire unexpected from the reserved man. He points at Larson, his voice booming, resolute and unyielding. "This woman is my daughter, Charlotte Bennett," he declares, each word striking like a hammer. "And you," he jabs a finger at Larson, his gaze cutting like a blade, "have been stealing tips from your staff, treating them like garbage. I just called the restaurant's owner. You're done." Larson pales, his mouth opening to protest, but his words falter as two security guards appear from behind, their footsteps echoing on the marble floor. They quietly seize Larson's arms, escorting him out, ignoring his muttering fury. Abigail, or Charlotte, stands there, the world around her tilting. She clutches the photo, tears streaming, her eyes flickering between William and Étoile's opulent space. The star-shaped locket presses against her chest, a vivid testament that she's no longer an orphan without a past. William rests a hand on her shoulder, his eyes brimming with love and determination. "You're Charlotte," he whispers, his voice softening, a promise he won't let her slip away again. In the chandelier's shimmering glow, amid the crowd's hush, Abigail feels a shift, a door opening, leading her to an answer she sought for 17 years. William Bennett leads Abigail Foster, or Charlotte as he calls her, to his Buckhead mansion in Atlanta, a sprawling estate overlooking the Chattahoochee River, shimmering under moonlight. Floor-to-ceiling glass walls reflect a silvery glow, crafting a space both grand and serene. Abigail steps inside, her shoes echoing softly on the marble floor, her eyes scanning the elegantly appointed rooms. But what stops her cold are the photos hung everywhere. A blonde girl, green-eyed, beaming in a sunlit garden, clutching an old teddy bear, or wearing a silver star-shaped locket identical to the one she grips around her neck. Abigail sinks into a velvet chair in the living room, clutching the faded photo William gave her at Étoile, her mind reeling like it's caught in a whirlwind. She stares at the girl in the picture, Charlotte, and can't deny the uncanny resemblance to herself. William stands by the window, moonlight casting a sheen on his silver hair, his brown eyes heavy with unspoken sorrow. He begins to speak, his voice low, as if reopening a wound that never healed. He recounts that fateful day, 17 years ago, during a picnic for Charlotte's 5th birthday in a Savannah park. They played hide-and-seek, Charlotte giggling as she ran off, and then, in a moment of distraction, she was gone. He searched the park, calling her name until his voice gave out, but there was no trace. He hired the best detectives, offered millions in rewards, scoured states to find Charlotte, but she vanished into thin air. The pain of losing her turned him into a solitary single father, and his tech empire, Bennett Innovations, became his only escape, a way to numb a heart unable to bear the grief. Abigail listens, her hand tightening around the photo, silent tears streaking her cheeks. She feels William's pain, as if it intertwines with her own. Then she begins to share, her voice soft but clear, as if unlocking a box of memories sealed for 17 years. She tells of the day she was left at a Savannah orphanage, just 5 years old, with the star-shaped locket tucked in her clothes and a note bearing the name Abigail. She grew up in harsh foster homes, where love was a luxury and survival a daily lesson. The locket was her only light, a small but sacred object, like a promise that someone, somewhere, had once cared for her. She doesn't know who left her, only recalls a warm, deep voice, perhaps her father's, echoing in memory. "It will bring you back." Abigail looks at William, her eyes brimming with pain and hope. "I always believed my father would find me," she whispers. William weeps, tears streaming down his face, a rare sight from a man who's hidden pain behind a stoic exterior. He steps forward, kneels before Abigail, and embraces her tightly, his body trembling. "I never abandoned you," he says, his voice choked, like a solemn vow. "I searched for you every day, Charlotte." Abigail leans into him, feeling the warmth of his arms, a love stolen by time now returning, like a miracle she dares not believe. She holds him, the locket pressed against her chest, a thread binding two hearts long separated. In that moment, the vast Buckhead mansion sheds its coldness, becoming a haven of hope, a place where father and daughter can begin anew. But amid the joy of reunion, a question haunts Abigail, like a small but sharp thorn in her mind. Why was she abandoned? Who took her? Whisked her from that Savannah park, leaving her at an orphanage with a locket and a name not her own? She looks at William, his eyes brimming with love, yet tinged with unease, as if he too wonders the same. Abigail clutches the locket, feeling the leaf patterns under her fingers, as if it holds answers she can't yet grasp. Under the moonlight streaming through the glass, William and Abigail sit together, their hearts entwined with the joy of reunion and the ache of unresolved mysteries. The mansion, with its photos of Charlotte and the distant murmur of the Chattahoochee River, bears witness to an emotional reunion, but also the start of a journey to uncover the truth of what happened 17 years ago. A month after the emotional reunion at Etoile, Abigail Foster, or Charlotte Bennett, as William now calls her, receives an unmarked letter at William's sprawling Buckhead mansion in Atlanta. The letter, with jagged handwritten lines, chills her. "The locket shouldn't have found you." Abigail clutches it, a cold shiver running down her spine. She hands it to William, who sits in the living room, moonlight from the glass windows casting shadows on his face. His eyes darken as he reads, his hand tightening on the paper's edge. Without hesitation, he contacts Catherine Wells, a sharp private investigator renowned for unraveling complex mysteries. Catherine, with short hair and piercing eyes, arrives at the mansion the next day, her resolve unshakable. She digs in, and within days, a name surfaces: Richard Coleman, a former Bennett Innovations employee fired for fraud just months before Charlotte's disappearance. Catherine uncovers Coleman's resentment of William's success, his intent to exact revenge by hurting him. Catherine's investigation unearths chilling clues, like pieces of a dark puzzle. She finds suspicious financial transactions, large sums funneled to a hidden account under a false name. coinciding with Abigail's abandonment at the Savannah orphanage. A grainy photo, retrieved from a security camera near the orphanage, shows a man resembling Coleman that night, gaunt and wearing a low cap. But Coleman's trail goes cold in Charleston, South Carolina, where he was last seen before vanishing. Abigail, still adjusting to her identity as Charlotte, feels a fierce urge to uncover the truth. She insists on joining Catherine, despite William's fears, who wants to shield her from potential danger. "I need to know why," Abigail says, her eyes resolute, her hand gripping the star-shaped locket. William reluctantly agrees, and the two women set off for Charleston. In a dilapidated house on Charleston's outskirts, its walls peeling and windows shattered, Catherine and Abigail find traces of Coleman. In a dusty attic corner, they discover an old journal, its leather cover cracked. Its pages brim with frantic, obsessive scrawls about William Bennett, his wealth, his power. One line, written in red ink, sends a chill through Abigail. The locket will ruin everything. The girl must never know. The journal reveals Coleman's deep grudge, but hints he didn't act alone. Catherine, with her keen instinct, digs deeper. And another name emerges. Evelyn Reed, the cousin of William's late wife. Evelyn, envious of the Bennetts' wealth and happiness, manipulated Coleman, inciting him to kidnap Charlotte as a way to wound William. The next clue deepens the story's chilling edge. Evelyn, the journal reveals, supplied money and a plan for Coleman to execute Charlotte's kidnapping during her 5th birthday picnic in Savannah's park. But when the plan succeeded and Charlotte was taken, Evelyn panicked, fearing discovery. She cut contact with Coleman, leaving him alone with the 5-year-old. Coleman, unsure what to do, abandoned Charlotte at a Savannah orphanage, tucking the star-shaped locket into her clothes in a thoughtless act, believing it meaningless without context. He never imagined that small piece of jewelry would become the thread reuniting William and Abigail after 17 years. Abigail reads the journal's lines, her hands trembling, her eyes brimming with pain and anger. She thinks of the lonely years in foster homes, the nights clutching the locket, dreaming of a father who loved her. Catherine places a hand on her shoulder, her voice low but steady. "We've uncovered the truth," she says. "But Coleman and Evelyn are still out there, or at least, we need to confirm." Abigail nods, her gaze shifting from anguish to resolve. She looks out the window of the dilapidated house, where faint Charleston streetlight spills in. The star-shaped locket presses against her chest. No longer a mystery, but evidence of a crime that tore her from her family. A fire ignites within her. She won't stop until those responsible face justice. William, back in Atlanta, awaits news with a heavy heart, unaware that his daughter's quest for truth has only just begun. Abigail and Catherine track Evelyn to a small Florida town, living under a false name. Evelyn, aged and remorseful, confesses everything, sobbing, "I didn't mean for it to go so far. I just wanted to hurt William." Abigail stares at her, anger mingling with pity. "You stole my childhood," she says, then turns away, leaving Evelyn to her own pain. Catherine alerts the police, ensuring justice. Back in Buckhead, Abigail sits with William by the fireplace, the locket glinting. "I used to think it was all I had," she says, "but it led me to you." William clasps her hand, his eyes shining. "I never stopped looking for you, and I never will." On her 23rd birthday, Abigail stands on the mansion's terrace, gazing at the shimmering Chattahoochee River. William beside her, champagne glass raised. To Charlotte, to home, to forever, he says. Abigail smiles, their glasses clinking, the sound ringing like a promise. She studies social work at Emory University, volunteers at orphanages, bringing hope to children like she once was. Étoile, under new management, becomes a symbol of fairness, with Abigail as a shareholder. The mysterious letter, Catherine concludes, was likely a prank from someone aware of Coleman. But it no longer matters. The locket fulfilled its purpose, reuniting a family. Abigail knows challenges lie ahead, but with William's love and the truth, she's ready. Leave a comment. If you believe a small object can unlock a buried past, hit like, subscribe to 30 Millionaire Stories, and share a moment that changed your life. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.